Imagine waking up each day feeling like you're trapped behind a mask, a carefully crafted version of yourself designed to fit in, please others, and avoid judgment. What if the person you present to the world isn't really you? What if everything you've been taught about who you should be is just a shadow of your true identity, shaped by expectations, fears, and social conditioning? For decades, Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist, revealed that this mask, what he called the persona, is not your authentic self, but a protective facade. Living behind it may keep you safe, but it also keeps you disconnected from your deepest desires, your hidden emotions, and the full potential of your being. Today, we'll uncover the chains of this invisible prison, exploring how society molds us into roles that aren't truly ours, and why breaking free is essential for real happiness and freedom. Through Jung's profound insights into human behavior, you'll learn how to recognize your persona, confront the parts of yourself you've hidden away, and step boldly into the authentic life you were always meant to live. Get ready to challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself and discover the powerful journey of reclaiming who you really are beneath the mask. From the moment we are born, we begin to absorb the world around us. We learn how to act, what to say, how to dress, and even how to feel, based not on who we truly are, but on what others expect from us. Parents, teachers, friends, and society at large shape our behavior in subtle yet powerful ways. Slowly, without even realizing it, we start wearing a mask. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, called this mask the persona. It's not evil or wrong, it's actually necessary. It helps us function in society. But the danger arises when we mistake the mask for our real self. Imagine going through life playing a role like an actor stuck in a never-ending performance. You smile when you want to scream. You agree when you wish to rebel. You blend in just to avoid standing out. And after years of pretending, you may wake up one day feeling lost, empty, or numb because you've spent so much time becoming who you were supposed to be that you no longer remember who you really are. Jung believed this was one of the deepest psychological issues of modern life. We confuse our roles, student, parent, employee, influencer, or even nice person, with our actual identity. The persona becomes so comfortable and praised that we cling to it, even when it starts to suffocate our soul. We become addicted to approval, to fitting in, and to being what others want us to be. But here's the truth. The real you exists beyond that mask. Beneath the surface of your socially acceptable personality lies a complex, powerful, and raw version of yourself. One that hasn't been shaped by the need to conform. It may be messy, emotional, creative, rebellious, or wild, but it's you. And Jung didn't just recognize this. He believed that reconnecting with this deeper self was essential to a meaningful life. Now, this isn't to say the persona is useless. We need it to survive and relate to others. It's the version of ourselves we show at work, in public, or when meeting new people. But when the persona becomes your only identity, you begin to live someone else's life. You make choices not from your inner truth, but from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of being alone. Jung warned that when people stay too attached to their persona, the parts of themselves they hide begin to build up in the unconscious. These repressed feelings, desires, and instincts don't disappear. They wait, and over time they leak out through anxiety, depression, anger, or even physical illness. This is your psyche's way of crying out for attention. It's saying, stop pretending. Come back to who you really are. The process of breaking free begins with awareness. Start to notice when you are playing a role. Ask yourself, Am I doing this because it's true to me or because it's expected of me? What parts of myself am I hiding just to be accepted? Who am I trying to impress, and why? This kind of self-questioning is powerful. It's not easy, but it's the beginning of freedom. Jung believed that the path to wholeness begins not by fixing your persona, but by discovering what lies beyond it. He called this the journey of individuation, becoming your true self, not the one handed to you by society. In the modern world, where social media encourages carefully crafted images and curated lives, this message is more important than ever. We are constantly comparing ourselves to others, trying to live up to fake standards, and hiding anything that doesn't look perfect. But the real journey is inward. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about unlearning who you're not. You were not born to be a mask. You were born to be a whole, complex, authentic human being. Breaking free from your persona doesn't mean abandoning your responsibilities or relationships. It means showing up more honestly, more fully, and more powerfully in the world. It means daring to live as yourself, not as your role. In this video, we're going to explore how Jung's theory of the persona reveals the invisible trap we're all caught in, and how to escape it. We'll uncover the layers beneath your social mask, meet the hidden parts of yourself, and begin the journey toward true psychological freedom. Because you deserve to live a life that feels real, not one that just looks right. Carl Jung introduced the idea of the persona to describe the social mask we all wear. This mask isn't just a metaphor, it's a psychological structure that forms as we grow up. The persona helps us adapt to the world around us. It allows us to function in society, build relationships, and gain acceptance. But over time, this mask can become so convincing, so habitual, that we forget it's not who we truly are. According to Jung, the persona is not the self. It is merely the image of the self we present to others. Let's think of the persona like a costume worn on a stage. You play the role of the student, the boss, the friend, the polite stranger, or the obedient child. Each role demands a slightly different mask. You might act confident in one situation, humble in another, agreeable in one, assertive in the next. The persona allows you to adjust and survive within a social system. In that way, it's useful, even necessary. But here's the danger Jung warned us about. When the persona becomes your entire identity, you lose connection with your real inner world. You stop asking, "What do I feel?" and start asking, "What should I feel?" You stop expressing your true thoughts and instead say what will gain approval. Your inner self, the one filled with contradictions, creativity, and depth, gets buried under layers of what you think you're supposed to be. The formation of the persona begins in early childhood. A child learns what behaviors are rewarded and which ones are punished. A little girl might learn to always be sweet and quiet because she gets praised for that. A boy might be taught that showing sadness is weak, so he learns to suppress it. Slowly, these children begin to hide certain traits and exaggerate others to meet expectations. That's how the mask is built. Piece by piece, praise by praise, fear by fear. Jung believed that this adaptation, while necessary at first, eventually leads to inner conflict. Why? Because the persona is only a small fragment of the total self. It's the outer layer, but beneath it lies a vast unconscious filled with all the parts we've hidden or ignored. The more we cling to the mask, the more we reject these deeper aspects of ourselves. The trouble is, society tends to reward the mask. We get jobs because we know how to present ourselves. We get likes on social media for being positive, funny, attractive, or agreeable. We're praised for being normal, professional, or respectful, and so we polish the persona. We even start to believe it's us. But deep down, something feels off. We sense an inner disconnection, a lack of meaning. This is the quiet suffering Jung warned about. He wrote that the persona is a compromise between the individual and society. It is not evil. It simply becomes dangerous when we identify with it completely. When that happens, we lose touch with our instincts, our desires, our passions, and our individuality. We become like actors who can't take off their costume even when the play is over. One of Jung's most important messages was this: the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and that can only happen when we begin to separate ourselves from the persona. That means noticing when we're performing rather than living. It means observing the way we change around different people and asking, is this really me or just a role I've learned to play? Jung didn't say we should throw away the persona. That would be foolish. We need it to navigate the world. But he did say we must become aware of it and stop mistaking it for our full identity. The persona should serve us, not define us. When you realize you are more than the roles you play, you begin the journey inward. You begin to peel back the layers of social conditioning and discover a self that is deeper, more honest, and far more alive than the mask you wear. That's when life starts to feel real again. That's when true transformation begins. In the next part of this video, we'll explore what lies beneath the persona, something Jung called the shadow. It's the side of yourself you were taught to hide, but it holds the key to becoming whole. If the persona is the mask we wear to fit into society, then the shadow is everything that lies beneath it. The parts of ourselves we hide, reject, or are even ashamed of. Carl Jung believed that every human being carries a shadow, and that this shadow is not something evil or dangerous in itself, but something misunderstood and deeply human. In fact, he said that facing the shadow is one of the most important steps in becoming whole. So, what exactly is the shadow? It's the part of your psyche that contains all the things you were taught not to be. Were you told not to cry? Your sadness went into the shadow. Were you taught to always be nice? Your anger went into the shadow. If you were expected to be strong, obedient, polite, perfect, then any part of you that didn't match those labels was pushed out of sight. The shadow holds your repressed emotions, instincts, thoughts, and desires, not because they are wrong, but because they were unacceptable to the people around you when you were young. This doesn't mean the shadow is only filled with negative traits. Surprisingly, it can also contain your creativity, passion, confidence, and even love. If those things were rejected in your early environment, for example, if you were punished for speaking up, your natural assertiveness might be buried in your shadow. If you were laughed at for expressing your ideas, your originality might be hiding there too. The shadow grows silently in the unconscious, and over time, it begins to show up in strange and subtle ways. Jung warned that when we don't confront our shadow, we start to project it onto others. That means the things we can't accept in ourselves, we begin to hate or fear in other people. If you've ever had a strong dislike for someone and didn't quite understand why, it might be your shadow being reflected back at you. For example, someone who denies their own anger might be overly disturbed by others who are loud, aggressive, or rebellious. Someone who hides their own vulnerability might be annoyed by people who cry or show emotion easily. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. That's the shadow trying to speak. But the goal is not to get rid of the shadow, it's to integrate it, to bring it into the light of awareness, to see it, understand it, and accept it as part of who you are. Jung called this shadow work, and it's one of the most difficult yet rewarding psychological processes a person can go through. It requires brutal honesty, deep self-reflection, and the courage to feel things you've spent years avoiding. When you begin to face your shadow, something powerful happens. You start to reclaim parts of yourself that you thought were lost. You may rediscover your strength, your voice, your playfulness, your sensuality, or your truth. And you realize that you don't need to be perfect, you just need to be whole. Shadow work doesn't mean acting out your hidden emotions recklessly. It means learning to understand them and find healthy ways to express them. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming yourself without fear or shame. The more you integrate your shadow, the less power it has over you. You stop being controlled by hidden fears or compulsions. You become more conscious, more grounded, and more real. And perhaps most importantly, facing your shadow helps you become more compassionate. When you've made peace with your own darkness, you stop judging others so harshly. You understand that everyone is struggling with their own masks and hidden parts. Jung believed that true personal growth comes not from pretending to be pure or good, but from accepting the full range of human experience, light and dark, joy and pain, love and rage. So while the persona may help you survive in society, the shadow holds the keys to your personal truth, and if you have the courage to face it, you'll find a version of yourself that is deeper, more authentic, and infinitely more alive than any role you've ever played. In the next section, we'll explore how social conditioning strengthens both the persona and the shadow, and how it keeps you trapped in a version of yourself that isn't truly yours. Carl Jung believed that much of our psychological suffering stems from living inauthentically. One of the strongest forces that pulls us away from our true self is social conditioning, the process through which society teaches us who we're supposed to be. From birth, we are subtly trained to conform, obey, please, and fit in. We are taught directly and indirectly that certain behaviors, beliefs, emotions, and even dreams are acceptable, while others are not. Over time, this conditioning becomes so powerful that it forms a false self, an identity that is not built on truth, but on expectation. This false self is closely tied to the persona. But while the persona is a social mask that helps us adapt, the false self becomes the internalized voice of society, family, religion, culture, and tradition. It tells you how to live, what to value, what to fear, and what to chase, often without you even realizing that these ideas didn't come from you. You begin to think you're living your life, when in reality, you're acting out a script handed to you by others. For example, you might chase a career that doesn't excite you simply because it's stable or prestigious. You might suppress your creativity or passions because they don't seem practical or respectable. You might stay in toxic relationships out of fear of being alone because society told you that being single is failure. All of this is the result of deep-rooted social conditioning. Jung warned that when we live this way, we become estranged from our true nature. We become hollow, full of roles and rules, but empty of meaning. The tragedy of social conditioning is that it often disguises itself as wisdom or morality. You might hear phrases like, "Be a good girl," "Real men don't cry," or "Success means making money," and they sound innocent. But over time, they become rigid psychological rules that limit your emotional and spiritual freedom. These beliefs aren't just external, they become internalized, turning into the inner critic that shames you for feeling, doubting, or desiring anything outside the norm. Jung believed that this pressure to conform is one of the great causes of neurosis in modern life. We build our identities on a foundation that isn't solid. We try to please everyone, fit into every situation, and live up to images we see in media, religion, and community. But inside we feel disconnected, anxious, and depressed. Why? Because the soul knows when it's being silenced. The unconscious rebels against the false self, sending signals in the form of dreams, emotional outbursts, or even mental health issues. These are not signs of failure, they are cries for truth. Breaking free from social conditioning doesn't mean rejecting all societal norms or becoming rebellious for the sake of rebellion. It means pausing and asking the most important question: is this belief truly mine? You begin to examine your choices, values, and identity with fresh eyes. Are you pursuing that goal because it lights up your soul or because it makes your parents proud? Are you hiding your feelings because they're dangerous or because someone once told you to get over it? Are you acting normal because it's safe or because you're afraid of being judged? Jung encouraged individuals to become conscious of these patterns, to withdraw projections, and reclaim the pieces of themselves they had given away to family, culture, religion, and society. This isn't an easy process. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to be different. But it's the only way to live a life that is authentically yours. As you begin to peel away the layers of social conditioning, you may feel lost at first. That's normal. The false self provided structure, even if it was suffocating. But what comes after is real freedom, the ability to make choices from your inner truth, not outer pressure. You begin to rediscover the voice that was buried under years of conditioning, your own. Jung didn't promise that this journey would be comfortable, but he believed it was essential for individuation, the process of becoming a whole, integrated person. And in that process, the masks fall away, the roles lose their grip, and you begin to meet the person you were always meant to be. In the next section, we'll explore this very journey, the path of individuation, and how Jung believed it leads not just to healing, but to transformation and deep personal meaning. Carl Jung believed that the central task of every human life is individuation, the process of becoming your true, whole self. It's not about becoming perfect or following someone else's path. It's about becoming who you really are beneath the layers of conditioning, expectations, and fear. It's a return to authenticity, a journey inward that requires the courage to face everything you've been running from, including your persona, your shadow, and the false self created by society. Individuation begins with a crisis, often emotional, existential, or spiritual. You start to feel that the life you're living doesn't feel real anymore. Maybe you've achieved what you were supposed to, but still feel empty. Maybe you're exhausted from pretending. Maybe you no longer recognize the person in the mirror. This is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. It's your psyche trying to wake you up and lead you towards something more real. Jung said that individuation is not about adding more to yourself. It's about integration. It's about bringing all the fragmented, hidden, rejected parts of your psyche into a conscious, balanced whole. That means accepting your shadow, not denying it. It means understanding your persona, not mistaking it for your identity. It means questioning your beliefs, not blindly following them. And it means listening to the small, quiet voice within, the self. The self, in Jungian psychology, is the deepest, most complete version of who you are. It's not just your personality, it's your soul. It holds the full truth of your being, including everything you have forgotten, ignored, or disowned. The self is wise, instinctive, creative, and spiritual, but it can't speak clearly until you quiet the noise of the false self. As you move through individuation, you begin to reclaim the parts of yourself that were left behind. Maybe you reconnect with your emotions after years of numbing. Maybe you rediscover dreams you abandoned as unrealistic. Maybe you realize you've been living for others, and you begin to ask what you truly want. Each step is a confrontation with truth, and truth is often uncomfortable, but it is always liberating. This process is deeply personal. No two journeys are the same. Jung believed that every individual has a unique psychic blueprint, like a spiritual fingerprint, and the goal is not to copy someone else's idea of success or happiness, but to uncover your own. It's about finding meaning, not in titles or money, but in self-awareness, honesty, and wholeness. Individuation often brings you into conflict with the outer world. As you change, people around you may not understand. Some may resist your growth, especially if it challenges the roles you used to play. That's why individuation requires strength. You have to stand in your truth, even when it feels lonely, but what you gain is far greater than what you lose. Along this path, dreams become important. Jung believed that dreams are messages from the unconscious, guiding you toward integration. Symbols, archetypes, and patterns in dreams can reveal what the conscious mind is blind to. Paying attention to your dreams, your instincts, and your inner discomfort can give you clues about the next step in your evolution. Eventually, as more of your unconscious self becomes conscious, you begin to feel more whole. You no longer need to pretend. You stop chasing external validation. You feel more alive, even if life is still uncertain. This is the gift of individuation, not a perfect life, but a meaningful one. A life lived from the inside out. Individuation is not a destination. It's a lifelong process. Jung called it the adventure of the soul. It doesn't follow a straight path. There are moments of clarity and moments of confusion, periods of joy and times of grief. But each moment brings you closer to your essence. And that essence is what the world truly needs. Not another role, not another imitation, but you. In the final section, we'll explore how to begin this journey practically. What steps you can take today to peel off the mask, confront your shadow, and start living as your real, unconditioned self. Because individuation doesn't happen in theory, it happens in your daily choices. Now that we've explored the persona, the shadow, social conditioning, and the profound journey of individuation, the question remains, how do you actually start breaking free from the social masks and rediscover your authentic self? Carl Jung didn't leave us only with theory. He gave us a practical path to begin this transformation, one step at a time. The first step is awareness. Becoming aware means paying close attention to your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Notice when you're acting out of habit rather than choice. When do you feel like you're performing rather than living? What emotions are you avoiding? What parts of yourself do you hide because you're afraid of judgment or rejection? This awareness is the foundation for all change. Without it, you remain trapped in unconscious patterns. One simple way to increase awareness is through journaling. Write honestly about your day-to-day experiences, focusing on moments when you felt uneasy, fake, or disconnected. Ask yourself questions like, what was I trying to prove? Whose approval was I seeking? Or what did I hide in that moment? Writing without censoring allows you to catch the voice of the false self and recognize the persona's influence. Next, begin to challenge social conditioning. This means questioning the beliefs and rules that have been handed down to you without reflection. Are these beliefs really true for you? For instance, if you've always believed that being successful means having a high-paying job, try to explore what success means to you personally. If you've been told emotions like anger or sadness are bad, try to reframe those feelings as signals, not weaknesses. This step requires curiosity and courage. Sometimes it means saying no to what others expect and yes to what feels authentic. Shadow work is an essential part of this process. Start noticing the traits or emotions you tend to reject in yourself. It might be jealousy, impatience, vulnerability, or desire. Instead of pushing them away, welcome them with compassion. You can try dialogue exercises where you imagine talking to that hidden part as if it were a separate person, asking what it needs or why it feels hidden. Therapy, meditation, or creative expression can also help bring the shadow into awareness. A powerful tool Jung recommended is dream analysis. Your unconscious speaks through dreams, symbols, and images. Keep a dream journal by your bedside and write down what you remember. As soon as you wake up, over time, patterns and symbols will emerge, pointing toward parts of yourself that need attention and integration. Building a support system is crucial. Individuation can feel lonely because it involves breaking away from collective norms. Surround yourself with people who encourage your authenticity and respect your process. This might be friends, mentors, therapists, or spiritual communities who value depth over superficiality. Remember, breaking free doesn't mean rejecting society or isolating yourself. It means living within society from a place of honesty and freedom. As you become more authentic, you naturally inspire others to do the same. Your true self becomes a light that challenges others to shed their own masks. Finally, practice patience and self-compassion. This journey is not quick or easy. There will be setbacks, confusion, and discomfort. But each step you take toward authenticity is a step toward healing and wholeness. Jung reminded us that individuation is a lifelong process, a dance between light and shadow, order and chaos. In breaking free from the persona and social conditioning, you reclaim your power to live fully and freely. You discover that beneath all the masks and expectations lies a unique, vibrant self, waiting to be known and expressed. This is the gift of Jungian psychology, the possibility that you can be more than what you've been told to be. You can be you, whole, real, and alive. So start today. Notice your masks. Meet your shadow, question your beliefs, and take the brave steps to live your truth. The journey might be challenging, but it will lead you to a life of deeper meaning, joy, and freedom.